I'm Shannon Martin. Tonight, ready, set, go. It's the first official weekend of the provincial election campaign with all the leaders out looking for your vote.
So many of the ridings that are in the GTA are going to decide where the election is won or lost.
What all the major parties are pledging, plus the push for the youth vote.
We're in a very, very tight bind. It's about to get worse.
More pain at the pump as gas is set to rise again overnight, getting closer to $2 a liter.
Quite scared I won't see my home again.
We'll take you inside a Toronto school welcoming dozens of young students from Ukraine.
This is CBC Saturday News.
Yes, to building highways and key infrastructure.
We're making sure that people can have a more affordable life.
We'll invest in the right way in publicly funded education.
Addressing the climate crisis in a way that builds on creating jobs in the new climate economy.
The big push for votes. It's the first official weekend for campaigning from Sault Ste. Marie to Kingston and Guelph. All of the major party leaders pounding the pavement tonight. We start in Ottawa tonight. That's where we find our Joanne Chianello. She spent the day on the campaign trail with the Liberals. So Stephen Del Duca was talking about COVID vaccines for students. What can you tell us?
Well, Shannon, as you know, Stephen Del Duca has been making a lot of education announcements in the last few days. He's promising to cap class sizes at 20 students, build and fix hundreds and hundreds of schools, and hire 10,000 teachers, as well as 5,000 special education workers. It's a $10 billion plan, financed largely by Killing Highway 413 project. Now, it's all part of Del Duca's and the Liberals' campaign to make schools better for children, safer for children, they say. So today, Del Duca said if elected, he'll add the COVID-19 vaccine to the list of shots that are already mandatory for students. Here's what he had to say.
So today I'm here to announce that if elected, Ontario Liberals will make the COVID-19 vaccine for kids part of the universal roster of vaccines that are required for kids to attend publicly funded schools right across the province of Ontario.
So lots of pledges there, Joanne. Del Duca is the first leader to come out your way. What's at stake for the Liberals in the East?
You know, Shannon, Eastern Ontario is not usually considered a fierce battleground. You know, it's no GTA. But there are some seats that are considered in play here in Eastern Ontario, particularly a few that the Liberals lost in the 2018 election when they tanked in the polls and the NDP swept up most of their progressive votes. Now they are hoping to win those back. This morning, Del Duca was at a park in the riding of Ottawa West Nepean. The Progressive Conservatives won this riding by a mere 175 votes. The Liberals actually came in third, but they think that they can win it back. And on Del Duca's return bus ride back to Scarborough, he stopped at Kingston and the Islands. This was a largely Liberal riding for many years that went NDP last time. But the incumbent there isn't running again, and it's quite a roster of candidates they have out there. A former MP for the Liberals, a city councillor for the NDP, and a former mayor is running for the Progressive Conservatives.
Yeah, so that will be one to watch. Just before you go, Joanne, I understand Del Duca wasn't the only one pumping up the Liberals in the Capital Region.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a blast from the Liberal past out on the hustings today in the capital. Former Premier Dalton McGuinty, who's from Ottawa, spoke at a campaign launch for the Liberal candidate in Ottawa-Vanier. It is virtually the safest Liberal riding in the province. Now, we haven't seen McGuinty out campaigning for some time, so it was something of a surprise. He told a few jokes, talked up the candidate, pumped up volunteers. He's pretty good at that stuff. And he said that he's known Stephen Del Duca for a while now, and he said Del Duca is sure to surprise people come Election Day. So the next month will tell, Shannon.
Yeah, it will for sure. Thank you so much for being here with us, Joanne. She's joining us from Ottawa tonight. So as for the Progressive Conservatives, leader Doug Ford spent the first Saturday of the election campaign in Sault Ste. Marie.
And investing $1 billion to build an all-season road to the Ring of Fire. This road will be an absolute game changer. It will be a corridor to prosperity that will connect communities, families, and businesses throughout the north.
Ford promising the investment if re-elected, saying an all-season road is critical to unlocking resources in the area. The Ring of Fire is a region in northern Ontario said to be rich in minerals. The Progressive Conservatives had made promises to develop and mine the area. He criticized the previous Liberal government for inaction on the project. Indigenous communities met with Ford last month and are submitting terms for an environmental assessment. Over to Bowmanville, where NDP leader Andrea Horwath was campaigning on a pledge to reduce emissions and also utility bills.
This is all about making sure that not only do we fight the climate change that we have in front of us, but that also we're making sure that people can have a more affordable life.
If elected, Horwath is promising a huge investment into retrofitting homes. She says this will come in the form of $11,000 grants and interest-free loans for those who spend over that amount. This is in response to what the NDP leader says is a continuous increase in energy bills for Ontarians. Horwath says this will create 100,000 jobs and billions in economic activity. And the leader of the Green Party was in Guelph today.
Addressing the climate crisis in a way that builds on creating jobs in the new climate economy, making sure everyone has access to the health care they need, especially mental health care services through OHIP. And finally, addressing the housing affordability crisis, which has reached a breaking point.
Mike Schreiner and a team of volunteers spent some time knocking on doors and talking to the community, listening to their concerns ahead of the election. Well, with the election top of mind, a group of residents in Scarborough got together demanding better transit.
We're asking every political party to make commitments to improve transit in Scarborough right now, not in 10 years. And
the rally was organized by the public transit advocacy group called TTC Riders. They say with the Scarborough RT closing next year, residents will have to take replacement buses between Kennedy Station and Scarborough Town Centre for at least 7 years until the Scarborough subway extension opens in 2030. They're calling for more provincial investment in bus service, free go to TTC transfers, and the Eglinton East LRT. Well, there is another demographic that wants to make sure their voices are heard by politicians and represented at the polls, the young voters. Talia Ricci with that part of the story.
While young people enjoyed a sunny day in the city, they say some pretty big issues are on their minds.
I'm a chef. I have a personal chef business, so, food costs are huge for me, and rising cost of living.
Minimum wage, a lot of people my age I think are struggling keeping up with multiple jobs just to kind of pay rent and pay off tuition debt.
Ontario's election campaign officially got underway this week. Groups like Future Majority are mobilizing to make sure Gen Z and millennials get out to vote and have their voices heard by politicians.
We know that so many of the ridings that are in the GTA are going to decide where the election is won or lost. So we've got this massive list that we're calling, that we're texting.
Wong says affordability, climate change, and mental health are among the top issues they're hearing from young voters.
When we're talking to young people, what's really effective in getting young people out to vote is if someone that they know and someone that they trust is telling them, hey, there's really important issues that we need to come out and vote for.
Elections Ontario says it doesn't provide demographic information about voters, but Stats Canada data on federal elections shows that people age 18 to 24 head to the polls at a lower rate than older Canadians. However, the number of young voters has significantly increased over the last decade.
I think there's a gap here. There's a voting gap, and there's a voice gap that I think really needs to be improved.
This political expert says candidates could do a better job at speaking to youth directly, especially since they represent such a large portion of the population.
That cohort of our population has really had a tough time of late. They've been especially, I think, set back by COVID. It's harder to start adult lives now than it has been for a long time.
A reality these young folks know all too well.
I've been living in Canada for the last 10, 15 years. Still have not been able to afford a place, considered moving out of the country, out of the province even.
There's a lot of issues on the agenda this election that young people really want to have their voices heard on, and we know that voting is the best way to do that. Voting is the first step in order to engage civically and make sure that our voices are heard by our politicians.
Ontarians will head to the polls on June 2nd. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
In other news tonight, Toronto police are investigating a shooting that left a man dead and another injured. It happened at 3 a.m. in this parking lot at Morningside and Shepherd East in Scarborough. Police say a man in his 30s was taken to hospital where he died. Officers have not yet released any suspect information. Okay, so just when you thought gas prices couldn't get any higher, you may want to brace yourself. Drivers in southern Ontario could see a record near $2 a litre tomorrow. Lorenda Redekop has more.
For this family moving company, filling up a truck now costs $150, around a 25% increase since January. Plus, other costs are up, so they reluctantly added a fuel surcharge.
When I say, well, we have a gas fee, and they say, oh, and I say, well, everything is expensive now, and they say, oh, yeah, you are right. So they understand.
In most parts of the country, it's expected that gas prices will rise again tomorrow. Here in Toronto, they're expected to go up by another 4 cents a litre, pushing them very close to that $2 mark. In Vancouver, they've got the highest prices across the country. They're set to go up to almost $2.23.
We're in a very, very tight bind. It's about to get worse, and it will be very much the summer of our discontent, to say the least.
One Toronto food bank has seen client numbers more than double in the past year. But higher gas prices mean it's harder to get food to people.
Unfortunately, we were thinking of cutting down one of our programs, which distributes food through our buses, just because the increased cost and the donations coming in is not as much.
And the gas station is only one of the places where prices are up.
I find that I leave my car home a lot. I take transit. As a result, you have to find some other way to, battle with it.
You just work more. That's all you can do. Just work more and sort of ride the wave.
Gas prices are not great.
Housing, everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything's going up in price, and it's not fun, except for, salaries.
Salaries are up for staff at this moving company, around 10% since the beginning of the year, in an industry that struggles to find workers.
If you want to keep your people happy, working for you, giving a service like this that is so delicate, and people are so sensitive, you need to pay them accordingly. You need to compensate them for their time.
A little relief that more people would like to see. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Our good friend Sophia is back with us tonight, bringing all the sunshine with her.
And I'm glad for that. All I could hear about while I was away was how cold it was back here at home. Everybody griping with the snow that was still coming in mid-April and early May. That has all changed. Gorgeous wall-to-wall sunshine, not only for a stunning Saturday, but clear overnight period. And Shannon, a gorgeous day and a happy early Mother's Day for all the moms out there. Beautiful sunshine, high teens, still a bit below seasonal. But what if I was to tell you that all of this sunshine that we are experiencing, the wall-to-wall sun, will be with us until next Friday. It will continue, though, to be quite cool near any of the lakeshores. Not a lot of wind for Sunday, but it has been the east wind that's been the big change maker to keep things cool in the city of Toronto and keep us out of the 20-degree club. All the things change, though, when it comes to midweek. That's when the warm stretch starts. Now, coming up, I'll tell you about how long it lasts and the pattern that's at place, finally giving us this ridge of high pressure. And my firm belief is that once you've already had to cut the grass, we should have the 20-degree warmth as well to go along with it, Shannon.
Be part of the club. Thanks, Sophia.
Almost.
A school in Toronto has welcomed more than 50 Ukrainian students since the end of February. How the community is rallying to support them in every way. We'll have that story next. But first, a 98-year-old got the best birthday gift ever, reuniting with her daughter after 80 years. That is the moment. Gerda Cole turning 98 today, meeting her 80-year-old daughter Sonia for the first time. Gerda's family sent her to England when she was 15 years old to escape persecution of Jewish people in her native Austria. As an 18-year-old refugee, she gave her newborn daughter up for adoption in 1942. But after 80 years, Sonia tracked her mother down.
Got this funny feeling in the bottom of my stomach. I'm shaking. You know, up until just over a year ago, I didn't know that my mother was still alive. I knew very little. I still don't know much, and there's 1,000 questions I've got to ask her, but I don't want to bombard her with too many, because, you know, I've got to appreciate she's a little bit older than I am.
Gerda also met her grandson, Stephen, today, who helped his mother put all those pieces together for years. Gerda has lived in Canada since immigrating here after the Second World War. She has earned 3 university degrees, including an honors BA in Jewish Studies from the University of Toronto. What a way to celebrate. Happy birthday, Gerda. Welcome back. Well, let's head to Ukraine next, where the Deputy Prime Minister says all women, children, and elderly people have now been evacuated from a steel complex in Mariupol. Meantime, the Ukrainian military is making a big push in the northeast. The military says its forces have retaken several villages around Kharkiv after heavy fighting. Britain's Ministry of Defense says the battles in the region and on other fronts are taking a heavy toll on some of Russia's most capable units. Well, as the war intensifies, refugees continue arriving in Canada. Many of them are children. As Farah Morelli shows us, one school in Toronto has so far welcomed 54 students. She has more on how they're doing and how the community is coming together in support.
Our father stayed at Ukraine, and my dog, my family, our home, our possessions, their toys, everything's left there.
All the things Yuri Bakalo left behind. He fled Lviv with his mother and 3 younger brothers.
I'm quite scared I won't see my home again.
The 14-year-old is settling into his life at St. Demetrius Catholic, one of 54 Ukrainian students who've arrived since the end of February. In a school of 246, that's significant.
This is just artwork that the children made.
It's required adjustments, larger classes, more ESL teachers, social workers, but the principal says they've gotten support to make it work.
It's overwhelming in some ways, but we are very blessed that we have half of our staff is Ukrainian background, and probably 85 to 90% of our students speak Ukrainian fluently. We've got socks and underwear and clothing.
Side rooms like these now turned into spaces to house donations for students and their families. Bags and boxes line the school's entrance, too.
A lot of the students that are arriving now, they're coming with less and less. They have had to flee a country with basically just a bag with them. So the needs are higher and the numbers are greater.
Yeah, just push it in.
School parents like Larissa Whaler have been asking community members to drop donations off on her porch. Whaler's own family was able to escape Ukraine during World War II.
We feel a real obligation to help families coming in now, like my family did 50 years ago.
So far, the response, she says, overwhelming.
I really hope that that support continues, because the war isn't going to be over just because it's not on the news, and refugees are still coming, and we're going to need that help for a really long time.
It's really great to have support of this Ukrainian community over here.
While the past 2 months haven't been easy for students like Yuri, things are looking up.
Now you've started classes here at this school. How is it going?
It's going great. I've got an awesome teacher, cool classmates. It's great that most of them can speak Ukrainian.
Small comforts that make home feel so much less far. Farah Morelli, CBC News, Toronto.
We have some news to share about one of our favorite Canadian Jeopardy superstars, Matea Roach. Her incredible run has come to an end after a 23-game winning streak.
Did she know it was Hartsfield Jackson?
Absolutely not.
Who are Churchill and Downs IDK? It's all going to depend on the wager. Did you wager more than $3,600? $3,601. You finish with $15,599. Danielle Maurer with $15,600. You are a new Jeopardy champion.
The loss didn't sting much more than that. The 23-year-old lost last night's game by just $1 to a woman from Georgia. Her total winnings, a little more than $722,000 Canadian. She ranks 5th in the show's all-time list for both consecutive wins and highest regular season wins. Roach talked to our colleagues at the National. She says it is a bit of a relief for people to see how her run came to an end.
I've known that things were going to turn out this way for 2.5 months. And so I really have had time to process the things ending. Even at the time that my streak ended in terms of taping, I don't recall being that upset about it. I mostly just felt incredibly grateful to have even had the opportunity to play Jeopardy at all. And I don't think that anybody can reasonably be upset about, you know, entering the record books as the person with the 5th longest streak, the 5th longest, or the 5th highest, rather, regular season earnings. So yeah, I've been sitting on this for a while, and I feel just relieved to not have to keep secret anymore how my run ends.
We've been cheering her on. I know, I love it. Sophia, you're bringing the beautiful, you know, Mother's Day forecast. We're going to be maybe coffee outside in the backyard in the morning, I think.
I'll join you, for after a nice sleep in. What do you think?
Sleep in,
you know
breakfast
what?
in bed. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit of
put
both.
it out
How
there.
about that? Hint. Hint. I got to say, though, it has felt like we have been in the trenches of winter for far too long, Shannon. We're talking about the warmth incoming. We are also talking about the sun. I want to mention this early season sun. That UV protection is going to be necessary. That sun angle is quite strong still. It really creeps up on you since it's kind of the first of the season. But look at this. 12 to 14 hours of sunshine for the next few days. How wonderful does that sound? We are also, of course, talking about the heat. This 7-day forecast is stunning. There's the day, the first day of the potential 20-degree warmth, even a little bit of humidex in for Thursday and Friday here, but wall-to-wall sunshine for really the next 7 days. If we get that 20-degree day on Wednesday, Shannon, it could be the 3rd latest we have ever reached in Toronto. 20 degrees, and it's been quite a few years since we have been this delayed, and it's not everybody's story. Almost everybody else in the GTA has seen a 20-degree day. They've seen 20 degrees in Ottawa and in Windsor, and even in the far north of Ontario. They are having a summer-like stretch, 900 kilometers north of us in the southern Great Lakes Basin, but it all changes because of this blocking pattern acting as gears with the jet stream that will be keeping any systems at bay and churning up the warmth for us. And I think it's a pretty nice stretch. Not even May 2-4 yet, and we're talking about wall-to-wall sunshine and again, stunning sun for Mother's Day.
Perfect timing. Thanks so much, Sophia.
We'll see you soon.
Before we go, we want to say good luck to everyone running in the Sporting Life 10K tomorrow, including quite the crew from our CBC Toronto family. The race goes tomorrow morning starting on Yonge Street. Something to keep in mind if you're driving around downtown, it'll go downtown before ending at Exhibition Place. And happy Mother's Day too. We want to say that. And our show is preempted tomorrow for NHL playoffs. So we'll see you again next weekend.